Okay, welcome everyone. Today's mental game session would be on trust. And for those of you all who've been down to Chagaramas, this is, as you look up off the range, you would see Edith Falls in the back there. So that's my little plug. Come down to Chagaramas. I think the course is open again. I'm not sure if the range is, but I know the course is.
Yeah.
We're going to go right into playing your best game, and the 4 pillars that we have been discussing is focus on our first session, confidence, our last session, and today we will be doing trust. Now, there is a training mindset and there's a trusting mindset. Last week, Steve spoke about you have to do training. Michael Jordan was his example that, you know, he trains very hard. And I did look at 1 or 2 of those episodes and I noticed Michael Jordan also uses that lion face at times to bring his control and focus. But when you are playing and practicing, you have a training mindset where you are learning how to hit the stroke, making sure that you're doing it properly. But when you are playing with a trusting mindset, you have to now rely on your practice and play freely, letting it flow. You have to have your confidence in the skill that you've been practicing, and you're almost like on autopilot. Just letting it happen. That is what being in the zone is about. So it's unconscious, natural, flowing, and effortless. Sometimes you hit a really good shot and you feel like, wow, that was really like an effortless swing I made there. So there's the training and the trusting mindset. And the training mindset is when you are doing your good practice. It's good for practice, while trusting is good for competition. And in the training, you are always evaluating what you're doing, while in the trusting and in competition, you want to accept what has happened, what is going on now, and work with that. So you're not forcing anything to happen, you're letting things happen. In the training, you are working on your technique, while when you come into competition, you are just playing your game. You are focusing on your present game and playing what you can do best for now. When you are training, you are more focusing on improving for the future. So Jack Nicklaus, and some of you all who have read some of the mental game books, like from Bob Rotella, he speaks about this working hard in training, but letting go and trusting to play your best game. And even Jack Nicklaus spoke about the golf swing is happening too fast for you to try and control it, and to control your muscles and to take this back and to bring this through. When you're playing and executing, once you finish training your swing and you're putting it to the test, you have to only be able to do this instinctively and never consciously trying to control your swing competition. So the people who find it hard to trust themselves in their golf swing or in competition are people who generally are highly organized or compulsive in nature, to want to fix something, highly analytical, only thinking what they've done wrong, so they're not putting their conscious mind to rest, detail-oriented, highly technical, working on the mechanics all the time. But the stages of learning tells us that we need to put that conscious mind to rest in the final stages of learning. And initially, the first stage is, how do you do the stroke? What do I have to do? I have to take it back, I have to cock my wrist, I have to stay behind the ball. All these things work out in our conscious mind. Then we reach a stage where we start to feel the stroke, where we can just internally feel how our body reacts to the different movements. But the final stage of this learning is something that must happen automatically. And this is the ability to perform the task with little attention on the details of what you're doing. The mind is free to focus on the target, while the subconscious executes the stroke. So the trust breakdown is really the problem when you try to over-control a motor behavior that is already well learned and has reached the stage of automatic movement, and then you get stuck in this training mindset, or you go back into your training mindset when you're in the game and you're wondering, like, I don't know how to play golf at all. This can happen to you because you are going back into your training mindset. So the whole breakdown of trust is important to understand when this is happening. And in a little while, we'll go into the solution of some of the things we want to implement, but you have to be aware of when this is happening. And this can happen in any situation in which you feel the need to control what is happening and not perform from what you've trained to do, or perform from your memory or your automatic muscle movements. Or when this happens when you're under pressure, where you start to rethink and lose trust in what you trained to do. Also, when you're trying to avoid a mistake, and we spoke about your confidence dropping last time when you focus too much on the outcome. And this can happen sometimes when you are having a good game and the last few holes, you start to think about your score, which is the outcome, and you're protecting the score, and then you start to overthink. So then you may lose your lead in that you're thinking about who's leading, who's not leading, where would I stand? So again, your conscious mind now starts to take control of your swing, and you're trying to avoid missing the target or missing a score. So what are some of the solutions to these problems that we've just spoken about? You have to accept the fact that humans cannot be perfect on the golf score. Yes, you train on the range and trust on the golf course. You have to practice for trust on the range as well, so you can transfer the feeling onto the golf course. So you can spend a half an hour or so of your practice time towards the end in a trusting mode. This means you are performing via the images and the feeling instead of any verbal commands or mechanics. You can practice like you play. When you go out on the golf course and you're doing these swings, you are going to be practicing on the range as if you're playing an actual hole. And you're focusing the same way, involved with your targets, doing your routines, and also playing different shots, because on the golf course, you don't really play 3 7-irons in a row. So you would play your driver, you would play your mid-irons in different sequence as you would on a particular course. And you can even dedicate certain times of the day or certain times of the week, or when you go out, where you will work on your mechanics for this particular time. But another part you will taper off as you practice for the week, and you will focus on a tournament type play even in your practice round. So you can do your mechanics at home, let's say, and then when you go out on the weekend, you can try to focus more on your on that mindset of your trusting mindset. But when you practice at home, you do some training as well as the trusting mindset. So that is my main part here today. I'm going to hand you over to Coach Tony Byran. But what I wanted to mention before I do that is that Coach Tony and myself, we're working on a zone mental game test. You may have heard about a psychometric test. This is something that is used for personality testing and sometimes to help companies fit certain people into certain jobs. And we are designing a test of a series of questions where we will be able to assess, how well you are able to get into the zone and what areas you may be able to focus on more that might be preventing you from getting into the zone and staying in the zone. So you can look forward to that. We will be presenting some options next week in terms of how you can access that, but we wanted to just share it with you now. I'm going to hand over to Coach now. I will just mute my.
Okay, great. I see that I'm unmuted. How is everyone? Good. Well, anyway, first of all, thank you again for this moment. What I'm looking at is just what, you know, Emilie had gone through is the same thing I'm about to say to you in regards to the definition of trust. And my definition is the firm belief in the ability to suspend any judgment of the swing by not thinking about it, or, as she said, the mechanics during the execution of the shot. But how do we do this? We start, of course, on the range, right? Thinking about, we always do things on the range. We focus on our swing patterns. And, you know, sometimes we hit those balls more solid on the range. But again, thinking too much about your mechanics during practice will only make this type of thinking a habit. So this habit will then bleed into your game and onto the course and lead to your frustrations. Like any habit you have formed, it is very hard to simply turn it off. So again, turn it on while you are on the range. Focus on trusting your swing so that you know the outcome of the shot. Where the shot may or may not go, your score, or you know how you feel about mistakes on the course. So you have to trust your swing. And again, one of the biggest hurdles in golf is to overcome your own expectations of grandeur, which can negatively affect our behavior and not allow us to trust our swing. In other words, we have so much going on in our head. You know, we have to actually relax and trust our swing. And how do I trust my swing? I know, you know, I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of coaches, and I remember sitting with one of the coaches, and you know, he was saying that stay, target, you focus on your target, focus on seeing the ball travel exactly to your intended target. One swing thought to trigger the swing, and just let it go. In time, you will, when you're on the range, focus your attention, as I said, on that specific target. This will allow you to stay in the present moment and reduce multiple swings through that speeding through your head. I know that she had mentioned, playing the game, enjoy the game by practicing it on the course. You're not going to hit the 7 iron 7 times. Start with, maybe your driver, and then, focus to a 5 iron if it's a par 5 or something like that. But you guys know your course, so have fun on the range and practice everything there. And again, simply tell yourself over and over that, start thinking positively. I talk to myself. A lot of people talk to yourself. And sometimes, it gets away from us when we talk about the negative stuff. But think about positive self-talk. This will allow you to create a trusting environment and relax and trust your swing. I know that when I'm going through a good round, I talk good things. I think of, good memories on this particular hole. So I hold those memories in my head and just relax. Again, you want to lower the stress level, because your brain will always, will be just going over different things in your head that you just wanted to stop. And I know one of the things I do is waggling, keep your waggle to a minimum, find one key target, stand and just let it go. I just relax. I always practice for a better, positive, what is this? Something just popped up. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. But again, stay in the zone. Start, just relax, enjoy the game. And for me, I do a lot of mental exercises. Being in the wellness field, I always talk about meditation and how do we breathe. And one of the things I do is I focus on deep breathing, just to release and relax and relate to the moment that I have there. And again, thinking of positive thoughts to create a mental picture of the shot that you want. I take a practice swing while visualizing that desired shot. I trust it, and then it's programmed, and it happens. Keep your focus on something productive during the swing instead of what you're thinking what would happen. Sometimes I go to a course and I see a lake at the side, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hit the ball in the lake. And of course, the ball ends up in the lake or maybe out of bounds somewhere. So please focus on just keeping a nice conscious mind and relaxing. Now, I know I just told you about the mental part of it, just relax and breathe. But I know I'm going to give you 4 tips that I use to just calm my nerves down. I mean, one of them is, ground myself in my vision. Before any big moment, again, I told you I take a deep breath, close my eyes, and visualize, why I'm going, what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I'm doing. Again, I start with breathing in 10 deep breaths and then relaxing. This here just relaxes me. These are things that you should start doing. And of course, focus on gratitude. It's a hard game. Focus on just being, hey, look, it happened. And I'm grateful it happened. And today I get it here. Tomorrow I get it 5 feet here. Then you find a solution. And always remember that you're in control. You're in control of your swing. Take your time, get it done, and enjoy the game. Now, I don't know if we loaded up. I have 3 little quizzes here. I wanted Emilie to put in. I'm not sure if it's posted. Did you get a chance at all, Emilie, to post those? Let's see.
I didn't see any quizzes.
Any quiz? Oh, man. Well, let's see what I can do.
Maybe you can read it out.
Rats. Well, I don't have it with me here, but anybody has any questions on what you might have experienced? Or what do you experience in your game? Do you get really nervous? What throws you off? Anyone? You can open your mics and tell me how you find solutions.
Hey, Tony, it's Steve.
Hey, Steve.
How are you, man?
I'm good.
Good. So I was telling Emilie last week about practicing, right? And I said I felt more confident practicing. And by the time they opened the course this week at Shagarama, so we started playing this Saturday. By the time I got to the course and tried to do some of the things that I was doing on my front lawn, the confidence just wasn't there. Just wanting to win so badly took over, and now you became scared of what you're gonna do. You're scared that you're gonna miss. You're scared. Just the grass on the course being a little bit higher than the grass on my front lawn threw me off. So some very simple things, but also just not trusting what I was doing, practicing at home. It just went out the door, and it became immediately, oh, I gotta win, gotta play good. So I think what Emilie was saying is that, yes, you kind of have to accept that you're a human being, one,
Yes.
that you're going to make mistakes, two.
Yes.
And I did try using some of those things to bring myself out of that mode where I'm just focusing on winning and hitting good shots. So that helped, that helped
Good.
calm me down a bit. But that's what happened to me this weekend.
Yeah, I know it's it's a welcoming. We have stepped away from the game for a couple of weeks, and we're excited to get back. Feels good to be outdoors, and for the next couple of weeks, just like anyone, we have seasons here where we have to put things indoors, and when we go out and we hit on the natural grass, we think that our mechanics should be the same way that when we get out on the course, and you and I know that that doesn't happen. So try to spend less focus on the mechanics and that winning, and just trust your swing and enjoy right now, and maybe later on focus on your winning. Getting back at the guys, but for now is just get all that rust off and enjoy the freedom of being outside just for this week or 2 weeks.
Oh, for sure. We celebrated that as well. Just happy to be back out.
Yeah, just swing that swing, just relax.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else going through any things, and what solutions you may have found?
Well, Tony, there were two people that I spoke to this week that I would like to invite to say something.
Mm-hmm.
Rambo, I know that he's been following all our sessions, and I will ask him if he could say a few words in terms of what has happened so far in terms of him implementing some of these procedures.
Right.
Rambo, go ahead.
Yeah, all right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Tony and Emilie and all the others. A few years ago, I was looking at a movie called Caddyshack, and Chevy Chase acted in that movie, and he made a very profound statement and comment in that movie, and it went like this: "Be the ball, be the ball." And I found that when I'm playing, I try to do that. So it's a lot of visualization that takes place for me when I'm playing. And I think trust is really the ratio of the amount of positive thoughts versus the amount of negative thoughts. There was a time if I stood over a putt and I thought a lot about, is it going to break to the right, to the left? I found that if I'm more decisive rather than trying to be correct, the putt fell.
Yeah.
Right? And because of that, I decided, something, I'm going to remove negative thoughts from my mind, start thinking positive, and start to beat our ball. And basically, in a nutshell, I think trust is really a function of the last two that we did so far: focus and confidence. Everything adds up. I kind of coined a little thing for trust too. Trust is a big thing in my game. I have a little acronym for trust that said trust is totally relying upon simple things. So don't complicate anything. Don't complicate swing thoughts, nothing. So if it say totally relying upon simple things, you have trust right there. TRUST. And that's my contribution.
Wow. Yeah. As I said, for me, I focus, as you said, focus, trust. For me, I stay in the present moment, and I try to reduce those multiple swing thoughts. That speed through my head. I find a tree, I find a spot, and I aim. And I always go to my bread and butter club, and steer down the target, and see the ball go exactly where you want it. Utilize your clubs as well. Utilize your go-to clubs. You said you had another person that wanted to address some things. What is?
Well, I don't know if I can't recognize all the names, but there's an Emilie. Is he on the line? He's a junior golfer. I'm seeing an iPhone and a Samsung. I spoke to his mother, Alicia, and if he's on the line, he can say a few words. If not, then I will invite one of the Charles to say something, Jada Charles. So is
Sure.
normally gentleman on the line? I guess not. What about you, Jada? This is one of our junior girls from Shagaramas. I have seen her golf game grow from strength to strength, and I would like to hear what she thinks about trust as it relates to her golf game.
Sure.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good day.
Relating to trust and everything, I had serious anger issues every time I played a bad shot. And I used to get upset and I used to throw off my whole game. But now I just focus on having fun and just enjoying myself because that's when I play my best game.
Good for you. Yeah, good for you. Yeah.
I think that is really a fantastic position to take because really and truly, we are not perfect and we cannot trust ourselves to be perfect. We have to accept what happens, and that change in Jada's game made a big difference. We just have a few more minutes, and I also want to tell Rambo, I think I will be using that acronym in some of the zone metrics tests that we're coming up with because I do like it very much. So,
Yes, go right ahead.
I'll share my thoughts here with you all as well.
yes, Mitchum, yes.
Yeah, what I've found with myself, because I was growing up as a junior golfer, I was known as very long always, but not the most accurate off the tee. And what I found started to work for me is I just have to trust in my target more so than anything else. Because instead of thinking about hitting the ball left or right or what you don't want to do, if you trust in what you're trying to do, I found that the consistency and the accuracy of the drives got a lot better. So what I try to do is really, right before I take that club away, I focus on try to visualize on where I want that ball to go, how I want it to fly, and just generally what I want to do with the shot. So right before I swing, I'm going to try to have that visual in my mind. Okay, this is what I want the ball to do, and then I'll pull the trigger.
Yes. Exactly. Ground yourself in your vision. Very good. Anyone else wants to add anything? How are you guys doing?
Tony, we just have a few more minutes, so I would just like to wrap up now.
Sure.
I want to again say that we will have this recorded on the YouTube channel, and we will post it to the WhatsApp group. Please encourage anyone else that you know is interested in golf to join our WhatsApp group. We will have one more session, so next week will be our last session. But as I said, we will be introducing the zone mental tests, and that is something that we would want your feedback on in terms of how we're going to implement it. Also, how we're going to get the golfers at the different locations involved. And we have been speaking to the pros at the different locations in terms of getting them involved in reaching out to the golfers at the different clubs. So with that, I would just like to say good night. Thank you, Tony, for coming on, and we look forward to next week, Monday. Tony, did you confirm when you're having your next fitness session?
Yes, that'll be on Thursday at 6:30. So we're going to have it this coming Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Myself, I have Chris Richards, and maybe another golf pro will be invited to work with us. So this coming Thursday, 6:30 p.m.
Okay then, thank you very much, and we're going to end the call now.
Have a good night.
Bye.